on the verge of a breakthrough, but the truth is you're stuck. And you need a fresh start. In his book, Fresh Start, Doug Fields briefly highlights the life of a notorious gangster, 1950 gangster by the name of Mickey Cohen. And at the time, Mickey Cohen controlled majority of the organized crime in Los Angeles. Now, many people know Mickey for his monstrous deeds, but few know about his faith story. You see, one day Mickey heard about a young evangelistic preacher that had came to town by the name of Billy Graham. And Billy Graham was conducting one of his crusades, his revivals in the LA Coliseum. And people from all over California was coming to hear this young preacher preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. And Mickey was curious. Doug Field goes on to share that Mickey knew that he was leading a life, a miserable life, and that he desperately needed some help. So he made the decisions to go and hear Billy Graham preach. And Doug shares that while doing this meeting, while doing this revival and hearing Billy preach, Mickey felt God calling him to go to the altar along all the thousands of other people to accept the forgiveness of his sins. Mickey admitted he needed a new life in Jesus that Billy Graham had talked about. And Doug Field said, that's great news, right? You would think. But he says, 6 months later, Billy Graham came back to L.A. And when he came back to L.A., he set up a meeting and he met with Mickey Cohen. And what he discovered that Mickey's life, he discovered that nothing had changed about his life. He discovered that this gangster was still running drugs, that this gangster was still putting a squeeze on people. And Billy Graham was warning him, say, look here, Mickey, there is no such thing. It's impossible for you to be a Christian gangster. It's impossible for you to be a Christian gangster. And Mickey, in response to that, he would say, well, look, there are Christian football players. There are Christian politicians. Why can't it be a Christian gangster? And Billy Graham just kept on saying, look here, it's impossible for you to be a Christian gangster. But what was going on was Mickey felt that he couldn't start over again. He'd been doing this for so long that he felt that he really couldn't start over again. And so when Dr. Billy Graham pressed him on the problem, Mickey finally admitted this. He said he couldn't put down his pride or his wealth and the pleasures to pursue the passions or the way that God wanted him to live life. And in the end, Mickey Cohen never did change. And sadly, he died the notorious criminal he always had been. And Doug closes his story by saying, even though you may never heard of Mickey Cohen, the shocking truth is, as Christians, we all have a little Mickey in us. Like Mickey, we want God in our lives and all the good stuff he promises, but we also want what we want. In other words, we're stuck. In other words, we're stuck. And that may be some of you today. You came to church this morning feeling a little stuck. You stuck morally. You feeling stuck morally. You keep struggling with the same sin over and over again. You've been dealing with this sin since you was 22 years old. And you feel like that you'll never be able to overcome it. Some of you are stuck morally. Some of you may be stuck emotionally. You are stuck in your fears. And your fears have imprisoned you. And you feel like there is no other way to live but in isolation. You're stuck emotionally. You're stuck spiritually. You lack the intimacy with God. You just feel like you should be farther along with your walk with God right now. You feel that you shouldn't be struggling with the same things you've been struggling with. You feel that you should be talking to people a little bit differently now. You're struggling spiritually. You feel stuck. Now, I know some of you might have come in here and said, well, that ain't me. I don't feel stuck. Well, the deal is some of you are stuck and you may not know it. And so to kind of see if I can help you out, I want to give you the stuck test. Can I do that? Let me give you the stuck test. Let's look up here. Let me give you the stuck test. Have some questions. Now, if you find yourself agreeing with or saying these things, then you might be stuck. Here's one. I know I'm supposed to read the Bible and pray. But I'm just so busy now. I don't have time to be the Christian I want to be. What am I supposed to do? That sounds like somebody that's stuck. I love to teach a Bible class, but if anyone ever found out what I do sometimes, they'll never let me teach again. How can I stop this sin? That sounds like somebody that's what? The stuff. Let's go to the next. I got some more. I know I should be a more loving parent, but have you ever spent time with my kids? Whoa, baby. What they need is a strong kick in the pants. How can I ever quit yelling at them? That sounds like a parent who's, I really should be kinder to my husband, but this is just the way I am. He just needs to realize this is who he married, and I am what I am. Or can there be a better way to handle this marriage? It sounds like a wife who's stuck. And here's the last one. I feel so miserable today. I know that God loves me, but I feel like a big mistake all the time. I can't get it right, and I feel so guilty about it. Is this truly the abundant life God promised? That sounds like somebody that's stuck. Now, if you find yourself making any of these statements, you probably stuck. Now, there's no reason for you to panic. There's no reason for you, because everybody gets stuck sometimes. And the good thing is that we kind of find ourselves in good company, because as you look through the Bible, there were many people who found themselves in the Bible stuck. Or can I call the roll? Abraham was stuck. Him and Sarah couldn't have children. That sounds like somebody that's stuck. Jacob was stuck. He was scared to go back home to face his brother. He was stuck. Joseph was stuck. Matter of fact, he was stuck a couple of times. He was stuck in a pit, and then somebody picked him up and stuck him in prison. So he was stuck a couple of times. Joseph was stuck. Job was stuck. He lost all his wealth and all his kids. That sounds like somebody who was stuck. Peter was stuck. Can I come to the news? Peter was stuck. He denied Jesus not once, not twice, but 3 times. Sound like somebody was stuck. Paul was stuck. Because Paul in Romans talks about, he says, you know, the things that I want to do, I can't do. I find myself not doing. But the things that I don't want to do, those are very things I find myself doing. What a wretched man I am. Paul was just saying, I'm stuck. Paul was saying he was stuck. And so you're in good company, because everybody gets stuck sometimes. And in our text today, we find Isaiah and God's people, the people of Judah, stuck. They were stuck politically. King Uzziah had just died. And they was in transition of a new leader. And you know how transitions can be in leadership. We find ourselves, even in our government today, stuck. Can't get some stuff done. They were stuck socially, because even though under Uzziah's reign they prospered, the most powerful people who had all the money was abusing and oppressing the poor people. They were socially stuck. Social injustice was at a skyrocketing. Was skyrocketing. They were stuck morally, because sin was at a all-time high. That's why God was getting ready to pronounce judgment on them. And this led to them being stuck spiritually, because they was in total rebellion against God. Total rebellion. Isaiah found himself stuck in among a people that was stuck. But he didn't stay that way. That's the good news. Because Isaiah experienced a fresh start. And I want you to know that if there's anybody in here today that's interested in what Isaiah did to get his fresh start. Because that may be you right now. You may need to hear this. And I really believe that there are a few tips out of Isaiah's life. I think we can glean some tips from his life, out of this scene in his life, that we'll be able to really understand how to get a fresh start. Are you interested? Here's this first one. If we're going to have a fresh start, we must have a reality check about our God. That's the first thing. We have to have a reality check about our God. We have to understand who God really is. Every fresh starts with God. And I need you to download this in your mind. The way I see God dictates the way I approach life. The perspectives I have about God helps me to process all of life's circumstances and events. And so I have to have a reality check about who God really is in order to really understand and how to live this life appropriately to get this fresh start. And this is what happens to Isaiah. He encountered God, he had an encounter with God that changed his perspective about God and changed himself. And so there's some couple of things that I want to share with you real quick out here that let us know that what Isaiah experienced to have this reality check about God. Here's the first one. We have to see God. We have to see his sovereign authority. This is what Isaiah came to realize. The text says that Isaiah saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Isaiah saw that God was in control. Despite the immorality that was going on, God was still in control. Despite that the king had just died, God was still in control. In spite crime against the poor was on a high, God was still in control. And that's what a word for somebody today. You just need to know that and trust that God is in control of your life. No matter the situation that you're going through, you just need to learn how to look up and see that God is in control. Despite your money being funny, you need to understand that God is in control. Despite your kids acting crazy, just understand that God is in control. Despite your health declining, just understand that God is in control. And this is the reason why we get surprised by stuff. Because you got to understand, God is never surprised because he's seated on the throne. But we're the only one that gets surprised. And the reason why I discovered we get surprised is because we really think we're in control. And what I learned is that surprises just remind us that we're not. Because God ain't tripping about nothing. God is handling everything from a seated position. He's handling every situation, all those things that surprise us. God is like this. Yeah, I already saw that coming. And matter of fact, I'm so smart, I got an answer for that. God handles your problem before your problem becomes a problem. You just need to understand that God is in control. And so that's what Isaiah saw. He saw the sovereign authority of God. But also, we have to understand his perfect morality. If we're going to have this reality check about it, we're going to see God for who he really is. We got to see his perfect morality. Isaiah saw God's holiness on a whole nother level. Something happened in this text, and that struck me, that arrested my attention, and I know it got Isaiah's attention, that I want to point out to you. Because the text says that above God, while he was sitting on the throne, were these seraphs, these angelic beings. And it says each one of them has 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, and with 2 wings they covered their feet, and with 2 wings they were flying. And they were all calling to one another, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. Now, what captured my attention about this was these seraphs. This what kind of, these angelic beings. Because as I began to really reflect on them and who they are, something struck me. It was this. Why did these sinless beings cover their faces before a sinless God? Why did these perfect beings have to cover their face in the presence of a perfect God? Why did these holy angels have to cover themselves and their face in front of a holy God? And what God struck me, what God hit me with is this. Even perfection has to bow down to God's perfection. And I was thinking, I say, okay, because I can understand if it was me before God. I would need to run out the building. But here are these perfect beings covering their faces in front of a perfect God. And what I realized is that this is why they said, holy, holy, holy. This could be the reason why. They understood that they were holy, but they saw God's holiness on a whole nother level. So they didn't just call out to God one time that you're holy. He said, no, yeah, because we holy too. But you're holy, holy, holy on a whole nother level. And this is important for us to as Christians, because we got to understand and reverence the holiness of God. The holiness of God just simply means that he's morally pure. And the thing is this, there are too many Christians that are comfortable with their sins. Too many Christians that are comfortable with the sin in life, too comfortable with pornography, too comfortable with shacking, too comfortable with gluttony, too comfortable with lying, too comfortable with cheating, too comfortable with getting divorces, too comfortable with getting abortion, just too darn comfortable for sin. And call yourself a Christian serving a holy God. Just too. There's a difference between struggling with sin and scheduling sin. Sitting up there plotting and thinking, oh, I'm going to be at old girl's house tonight at 11 o'clock and it's going to be on and popping. It's not a struggle. You just put that on your calendar, your things to do list. And God is too holy for that. It's too holy for that. It was him that said, be holy as I am holy. He's serious about his holiness, and we take God for granted. We don't see him clearly in how he views sin. God can't stand to look at sin because he's holy. If perfect angels had to cover their faces, what you think you need to do? Too comfortable with sin. So we have to understand his perfect morality. We have to see his sovereign authority. But here's the other thing. To get this big picture of God, to get a reality check it back out, you need to get this. I have to experience his immense glory. You have to experience his immense glory. This whole scene is about the glory of God invading the temple. I mean, Isaiah comes to church and he gets bombarded with the glory of God. Now, the glory of God, when he talks about glory, it's just really referring to like the weight or the heaviness of God. And so it comes in, Isaiah's in church, and the glory of God just comes in and invades, and it just wrecked everything that was in the room. It says when the angels started, when they start calling out, it says, at the sound of their voices, the doorposts and the threshold shook. This was the climax of God's glory. And the temple was filled with smoke. And so God's glory, when he comes and invades, it always changes because of his heaviness, because of the weight of his glory. Because of the weight of his glory. Now, let me give you an example. If I had a bowling ball and I had a thin piece of glass and I threw the bowling ball on that thin piece of glass, what would happen to that glass? It would shatter. It would be completely out of order or rearranged. And that's what happens when the glory of God comes in somebody's life. It completely rearranges everything about them. And that's what happened to Isaiah. The moment God's glory came crashing in, Isaiah's whole life was altered. His whole perspective was altered. At that moment, God moved. Watch it. At this moment, God moved from being just a concept to Isaiah to becoming a reality. You see, if you would ask Isaiah, did he believe in God? He would say, yeah. But he kind of believed him as a concept. But God became real to him when he experienced his immense glory. His glory came in and changed him. Tim Keller, the pastor, and he's an author, but he's the pastor of the Redeemer's Presbyterian Church in New York City. And he has some interesting comments about God being a concept versus God being a reality. Look at what he says. He says, what's the difference between having God as a concept and him being a reality? It's all a matter of glory. God as a concept is lighter than you. When you bring God as a concept into your life, you shape it. It fits around your existing patterns. It doesn't move you around. If you believe in God and it just haven't changed you very much, he's just a concept. A God concept can't really change your beliefs around because God as a concept is lighter than you. But God as a reality is heavier than you. And when the real God comes in your life, when you actually get in the presence of the real God, things give way in your life to his glory. Things that you always believe are changed by his word because God has more glory than your beliefs. Also, instead of God fitting into your agenda, God becomes your agenda. He radically changes all of your priorities. And so what Dr. Tim Keller was saying, until God becomes a reality in your life, you won't take him or his will or his work serious. You'll just try to serve God or try to have a relationship with God to reach your goals, to reach your dreams, to reach your desires. But when he becomes real to you, it'll become all about his glory. And so you got to have a reality check about God. You got to see that God is in control. You got to see God is sovereign. You have to see God is holy. You have to see God is glorious. Because it'll change you.